What's going on, guys? This is Jesse at the Humble Crew Detailing, and today I want to show you guys I have a friend who can do it cheaper special. So a lot of times, people will pick up a buffer and they'll think like, oh, the scratch is gone, like, oh, I must have done a good job. Now this right here is what's known as burnt clear coat, and this happens when someone takes a buffer and they lay it onto the paint and they let it sit there for too long, and they use too aggressive of a combo. And so if you look in the bottom side here, you can see there's a bunch of like these weird looking swirl marks, and it goes in a very particular pattern. This swirl mark here is caused by a rotary buffer, normally when you use a rotary buffer, you're trying to get a very aggressive cut, but on a new truck, you don't need to use this aggressive of a cut. And so when you have it looking like this, normally you need to like buff out, use a second or third step to correct all of this out, right? That's not too big of a problem, but what is a big problem is this right here. This big old like fading kind of weirdish, here we go. It's almost like a faded paint right here. This is burnt clear coat, and this happens when you overheat a clear coat and you essentially compromise the clear coat of the paint, and it causes this hazing and burning. And the craziest part about this Mark II is that you will not see it immediately after you buff it, but after the paint cools down and the clear coat cools down, it'll start to haze like this because you've overheated. You've essentially cooked the clear coat, and so you can actually see where at the very ends of this like burn mark, the paint is still kind of there, but the main area where the burn mark happens, you can see it's definitely faded. And to my knowledge, you cannot really fix that outside of a repaint. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, but I'm pretty dang sure this is like, hey, this requires a repaint. So unfortunately, this car came to us from the dealership, and someone at the dealer must have accidentally scratched it or something during the inspection process, and they were like, oh my god, send it to detail so they can buff it out. And unfortunately, they must have used far too aggressive of a polish, and so it's very evident, especially like right here. You can tell like this is all rotary. If you go to the rest of the paint, like it's not been polished yet, but you can definitely tell like, okay, all those marks, they don't exist. And so that's how you know that they attempted to buff out this spot right here and definitely screwed it up. And the worst part is the customer, my client here who owns this truck, did not see this mark because the day of when they picked it up, the paint was either still warm, so it hasn't faded like this yet. I brought it to us, and unfortunately I had to be the bringer of bad news to tell them like, hey, I think someone at the dealership or wherever touched this car before I did definitely burnt this area right here. And so anyway, that is why you pay for the professionals to do it right the first time. Don't you definitely get what you pay for. So this is Jesse at Humble Crew Detailing, signing out.